Ellie Morgan sat alone in her small apartment. The walls were thin and she could hear her neighbors arguing. 3 months had passed since the war ended, but the nightmares still came every night. She would wake up sweating, the sounds of battle still ringing in her ears. The apartment was in a part of New Portland where many former soldiers lived. The building was old and falling apart, but it was all she could afford with her small military pension. A photo of her old squad sat on the table. Most of them were dead now. Ellie got up and looked at herself in the cracked mirror. Her brown hair was cut short in the military style she still kept. The scar on her cheek had faded a little, but it would always be there. A reminder of the Battle of Arcturus, where she had killed the Zeraki commander and earned her medals. The war had been horrible. The Zeraki Empire had attacked Earth without warning. Millions died in the first wave. Humanity joined the Galactic Alliance to fight back. After 7 years of fighting, the Alliance won, but Earth was broken. Cities lay in ruins. Farmland was poisoned. People lived in refugee camps trying to rebuild. A knock at the door startled her. Ellie wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door carefully, one hand near the knife she still kept in her pocket. A man in a clean military uniform stood there. He looked out of place in the dirty hallway. "Sergeant Ellie Morgan?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "What do you want?" "I have papers for you to sign." He held out a tablet. "You've been awarded property from the Zeraki commander you killed at Arcturus." Ellie frowned. "Property? What kind of property?" "A slave," the man said without emotion. "A Zelnaga female. Rare and valuable." Ellie felt sick. "I don't want a slave. Slavery is illegal in Alliance territory." The man shrugged. "Not for non-humans captured from the Zeraki. It's in the treaty. You can reject the award, but then she'll be given to the science division for study. They won't be kind to her." "That's wrong," Ellie said. "That's the law," the man replied. "Sign here if you accept or here if you reject." Ellie hesitated. She didn't want a slave, but she couldn't send someone to be cut up in a lab. "Where is she now?" "Waiting at the military base. I'll take you there if you accept." Ellie sighed and signed the acceptance form. The man nodded and led her to a small transport vehicle. The military base was on the edge of the city. They passed through 3 security checkpoints before reaching a plain building with no windows. Inside, a woman in a lab coat was waiting. "Sergeant Morgan," she said. "I'm Dr. Patel. I've been taking care of your property." She seemed excited. "The Zelnaga are fascinating. This one is especially beautiful. The Zeraki kept them as status symbols and personal servants." "She's not my property," Ellie said. "She's a person." Dr. Patel smiled like Ellie was a child who didn't understand. "Legally, she isn't. The Zelnaga were genetically modified by the Zeraki. They can't survive without a master. It's built into their biology. They need regular doses of a chemical that only responds to their owner's DNA." She handed Ellie a small device. "This injector is keyed to your genetic code now. 1 dose every 10 days. Without it, she'll die slowly and painfully." Ellie felt trapped. Can this be fixed? Can she be made independent? No one knows. Maybe someday, but not now. Dr. Patel pressed a button on her tablet. A door slid open. "Here she is." Ellie's breath caught in her throat. The alien woman who walked into the room was unlike anything she had seen before. Her skin was a deep violet blue that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her eyes were completely silver with no pupils or whites. She moved with a strange grace, like she was floating rather than walking. She wore a simple white garment that contrasted with her skin. Around her neck was a metal collar with blinking lights. "That's a neural inhibitor," Dr. Patel explained. "It limits her telepathic abilities. The Zelnaga can read minds and influence thoughts without it." The alien woman looked at Ellie. Her face showed no emotion, but Ellie felt like those silver eyes could see into her soul. "What's her name?" Ellie asked. "Whatever you want to call her," Dr. Patel said. "No, her real name." Dr. Patel checked her tablet. The Zeraki called her Lysithea. Ellie approached the alien woman slowly. "Hello, Lysithea. I'm Ellie." Lysithea bowed her head slightly. "I belong to you now, Master." Her voice was musical with a strange accent. Each word seemed to have extra notes behind it. "Don't call me that," Ellie said quickly. "I'm not your master." I don't know what I am, but not that." Lysithea looked confused. "You own me. That is the way it has been since my world fell." "Well, it's not right," Ellie said. She turned to Dr. Patel. "Can the collar come off?" "Not recommended," Dr. Patel said. Zelnaga telepathy is powerful, but it's your choice. The control is on this tablet. She handed Ellie another device. Just be careful. Tizraki kept them collared for good reason. Ellie put the tablet in her pocket. Let's go, Lysithea. The alien followed her silently. In the transport, Lysithea sat perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap. People on the street stared as they walked from the transport stop to Ellie's apartment. Aliens were rare on Earth, especially one as striking as Lysithea. The apartment seemed smaller with 2 people in it. Ellie cleared some space in the living room. You can sleep here. I'll get a bed for you tomorrow. I require little sleep, Lysithea said. 4 hours in a 60-hour cycle is sufficient. Oh. Ellie didn't know what else to say. Are you hungry? I don't know what you eat. I can consume most proteins and carbohydrates, Lysithea said, but I require mineral-rich water daily. Ellie found some salt and mixed it into water. Lysithea drank it gratefully. That night Ellie couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the woman in the next room. A slave, her slave. The idea made her sick. But what could she do? If she freed Lysithea, the alien would die without the chemical injections that only Ellie could give her. She heard movement and opened her eyes. Lysithea stood in the doorway, her skin glowing faintly in the darkness. Your dreams are loud, Lysithea said. I can hear them through the walls of your mind. Ellie sat up. I thought the collar blocked your telepathy. It reduces it. Strong emotions still come through. Lysithea tilted her head. You dream of battle, of killing my former master. Does that make you hate me? Ellie asked. Hate? Lysithea seemed to consider the word. He destroyed my world, killed my family, made me watch as he experimented on my people. I served him because I had no choice. Now I serve you. You don't serve me, Ellie said. You're staying with me until we figure something out. Lysithea stared at her with those silver eyes. You are strange for a human, so I've been told. Ellie lay back down. We'll talk more tomorrow, but Lysithea didn't move. There's something you should know. My former master hid something important, something others will come looking for. Ellie sat up again. What do you mean? Information, in my mind. Behind locks even I cannot open. Lysithea touched the collar. As long as I wear this, it stays hidden. If it comes off, people will come after you, Ellie finished. Lysithea nodded. They already are. It's only a matter of time before they find me. Ellie's hand went to the knife under her pillow. Let them come. I've killed Zraki before. For the first time, Lysithea's expression changed. A small smile touched her lips. Yes, I know. 2 weeks passed. Living with Lysithea was strange. The alien woman moved silently through the apartment. Sometimes Ellie would turn around and find her standing there, watching with those silver eyes. It was creepy at first, but Ellie got used to it. Lysithea needed little food but drank gallons of mineral water each day. She didn't complain or ask for anything. Every night she would stand by the window and look at the stars for hours. What are you looking at? Ellie asked one night. Home, Lysithea said simply, though it no longer exists as I knew it. Tell me about your world, Ellie said. Lysithea was quiet for a long time. We called it Lura. It orbited a red star. The light made everything look purple and gold. We built our cities in the trees, huge trees bigger than your buildings. Her voice grew soft. The Zraki came when I was young. They burned the forests. They took the strongest of us for slaves and killed the rest. I'm sorry, Ellie said. Why? You didn't do it. It's just something humans say when bad things happen to others. Lysithea considered this. An expression of empathy. Interesting. She turned back to the window. The Zraki changed us. Over many generations. Made us dependent on them. Beautiful, obedient pets. That's horrible, Ellie said. It was efficient, Lysithea replied without emotion. We cannot live without our masters now. But some of us remember what we once were. Ellie had used the injector once on the 10th day. Lysithea had knelt before her, exposing her neck. The sight made Ellie uncomfortable, but she pressed the device against the blue skin. It made a soft hiss. Lysithea's eyes had fluttered closed for a moment, and she'd shivered slightly. Does it hurt? Ellie had asked. No, Lysithea had answered. It feels necessary. The next day, Ellie went shopping. She bought clothes for Lysithea, who had been wearing the same white garment since she arrived. She also bought more food and special mineral salts for Lysithea's water. When she returned home, the door to her apartment was open. Ellie dropped the bags and pulled out her knife. She crept inside slowly. The apartment was a mess. Furniture was overturned. Drawers were pulled out. Her clothes were scattered across the floor. In the middle of it all sat Lysithea, calm and unharmed. "What happened?" Ellie asked, looking around for intruders. "They came looking for me," Lysithea said. "3 humans and a Zraki. I hid in the ventilation shaft." She pointed to a small opening in the ceiling. "They did not find what they were looking for." "Which is what, exactly?" Ellie demanded. "Information. Hidden in my mind." Lysithea touched the collar around her neck. "The neural inhibitor keeps it locked away. That is why my former master kept me collared, even in his private chambers." Ellie began picking up her scattered belongings. "What kind of information is worth trashing my home?" "Coordinates. To a place of great power." Lysithea helped Ellie right an overturned chair. "The Zraki commander was searching for it. He believed I knew where it was. And do you?" Lysithea's silver eyes met Ellie's. "Yes, but I cannot access the memory while wearing this collar." She touched the metal band again. "If you remove it, I could show you. But it would put you in danger." Ellie thought about it. She took out the tablet Dr. Patel had given her. The control for the collar was simple. 1 button to remove it, 1 to put it back on. "If I take it off, what happens?" "My telepathic abilities will return to full strength. I will be able to access all parts of my mind." Lysithea's voice was calm, but Ellie sensed excitement beneath the words. "I will also be able to read your thoughts more clearly, and influence them if I wished." "Could you control me?" Ellie asked bluntly. "Not completely. Humans have natural resistance to telepathy. But I could suggest things." Lysithea looked down. "I will not if you command it." Ellie didn't like having that kind of power over another person. "I'm not going to command you. I'm asking you not to mess with my head." "I understand. I will not enter your mind without permission." Ellie nodded and pressed the button on the tablet. The collar around Lysithea's neck beeped once and then clicked open. Ellie removed it gently. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lysithea gasped. Her silver eyes began to glow with an inner light. The air around her shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Ellie stepped back. "Are you okay?" Lysithea didn't answer right away. Her eyes were unfocused, looking at something Ellie couldn't see. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed. "It seemed to come from everywhere at once. I can see it now. All of it." She raised her hands and suddenly the air between them filled with light. A 3-dimensional map appeared showing stars and planets. One point glowed brighter than the rest. The architect's vault, hidden in the Cygnus void. Ellie stared at the map. "What is this vault?" "Power," Lysithea said. "The power to change everything." The map disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. Lysithea's eyes returned to normal and she swayed on her feet. Ellie caught her before she fell. "That took more strength than I expected," Lysithea said weakly. Ellie helped her to the couch. "Rest, we can talk about this vault thing later." Lysithea grabbed Ellie's arm. "There is no time. They know the collar has been removed. They will come for me again." Her grip was surprisingly strong. "We must leave this place now." "Leave? And go where?" "I have a ship, hidden before my capture." Lysithea struggled to her feet. "It is not far from here. An old mining facility in the mountains." Ellie was about to argue when she heard footsteps in the hallway outside, heavy boots moving quickly. She looked at Lysithea, who nodded. "They are coming. 6 humans. 2 Zraki. Armed." Ellie grabbed her old military backpack. She always kept it ready, a habit from the war. Food, water, first aid supplies, and ammunition for the gun she wasn't supposed to have. She took the gun from its hiding place under a loose floorboard. "Is there another way out?" Lysithea asked. Ellie went to the window and looked down. 5 stories up, but there was a fire escape on the neighboring building. The gap was wide, but maybe jumpable. "Hope you're not afraid of heights," Ellie said, opening the window. They climbed onto the narrow ledge outside. The gap to the fire escape looked even bigger from here. Ellie judged the distance. A running jump might make it, but they didn't have room to run. "I can help," Lysithea said. She placed her hand on Ellie's back. "Jump when I say." Ellie felt a strange warmth spread from Lysithea's hand through her body. Her muscles tingled. "Now," Lysithea whispered. Ellie jumped. She sailed through the air much farther than she should have been able to. She landed on the fire escape with a metallic clang. She turned back to see Lysithea still on the ledge. "Your turn," Ellie called. Lysithea stepped off the ledge. Instead of falling, she floated gently across the gap. landing beside Ellie with no sound at all. How did you do that? Ellie asked, amazed. Telepathy is not just reading thoughts, Lysithea explained. It is the ability to affect energy with the mind, including the energy of motion. They climbed down the fire escape quickly. As they reached the bottom, they heard shouting from above. Someone had found Ellie's empty apartment. This way, Ellie said, leading Lysithea through back alleys. They emerged onto a busy street. We need transport. Lysithea pointed to a row of vehicles for rent. Can you operate one of those? Yeah, but they need payment cards. Lysithea walked up to a man who was just unlocking one of the vehicles. She touched his arm lightly. You want to let us borrow your transport, she said softly. You will find it returned to this spot tomorrow. The man's eyes glazed over. Yes, I want to let you borrow it. You can return it tomorrow. He handed Ellie the key card and walked away looking confused. That was creepy, Ellie said as they got into the vehicle. It was necessary, Lysithea replied. He will not remember us. Ellie drove north toward the mountains. Lysithea gave directions, guiding them to roads less traveled. As the city fell behind them, the landscape changed to forest and rock. The facility is hidden, Lysithea explained. The entrance looks like a natural cave. The Zraki never found it. How did you hide a spaceship on Earth without anyone noticing? Ellie asked. Your planet's detection systems are primitive, and my ship has special properties. Lysithea looked out the window at the passing trees. It is not like ships you have seen before. After 2 hours of driving, Lysithea told Ellie to stop. They were in a dense forest with no buildings in sight. Lysithea got out and walked into the trees. Ellie followed, carrying her backpack. They hiked for about 20 minutes before reaching a sheer rock face. It looked natural, just another part of the mountain. Lysithea placed her hand on the stone and closed her eyes. The rock rippled like water and an opening appeared. How did you do that? Ellie asked. I didn't. The ship did. Lysithea stepped through the opening. It has been waiting for me. Ellie followed her into darkness. Lights came on as they walked, revealing a long tunnel carved into the mountain. The walls were smooth, unlike any natural cave. At the end of the tunnel was a large chamber, and in the center of the chamber was the strangest vehicle Ellie had ever seen. It wasn't made of metal. The hull seemed to be some kind of crystal or grown material, purple and blue like Lysithea's skin. It curved in ways that reminded Ellie of a sea creature, with no sharp edges anywhere. It was small, maybe 30 feet long, but somehow Ellie knew it was more spacious inside. Space stretched out before them, vast and silent. Ellie had been in space before, during the war, but only on military transports. Those ships were noisy, cramped, and smelled of sweat and fear. The Star Shadow was different. It moved through space like a fish through water, silent and graceful. Lysithea sat on a platform that seemed to merge with her body. Her hands rested on the crystal controls, which pulsed with light beneath her touch. Her eyes were closed, but Ellie knew she wasn't sleeping. You're connected to the ship, aren't you? Ellie asked. Lysithea opened her silver eyes. Yes, Xel'Naga ships are designed to link with our minds. I am both flying it and being it in a way. That sounds intense. It is intimate, Lysithea agreed, but also natural for my kind. She tilted her head. You should rest. The journey to the edge of known space will take several days. Ellie wasn't tired, but she found a spot where the floor curved up to form a bed-like surface. Like the seat, it molded to her body perfectly. The ship hummed softly around her, a sound that was strangely comforting. Why did you keep this ship secret? She asked. Your master, the Zraki commander. He would have found it useful. It would not have responded to him, Lysithea said. Xel'Naga ships bond with one pilot. This one is mine. She paused. And he was not always my master. When the Zraki first attacked my world, I was a scientist studying ancient technologies. I was part of a project to understand the relics left by the architects. Who are these architects? The first intelligent species in our galaxy, as far as we know. They vanished millions of years ago, but left behind technologies beyond our understanding. Lysithea's voice took on a tone of wonder. They could reshape reality itself, alter the fundamental laws of physics in limited areas. That sounds impossible, Ellie said. To your science, perhaps, but the architects existed long before humans had even evolved. Lysithea gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed strange geometric structures, perfect spheres, pyramids, and spirals of impossible size. These are their monuments scattered across the galaxy. Most are dormant now, their purpose is unknown. And this vault we're looking for? It's one of these structures? The greatest of them. A repository of their knowledge and power. Lysithia's expression grew serious. The Zraki have been searching for it for centuries. They believe it contains weapons that could give them control of the entire galaxy. Is that true? In a way. But not as they imagine. Lysithia waved her hand and the display disappeared. You should sleep now. We have a long journey ahead. Ellie wanted to ask more questions, but she suddenly felt very tired. She wondered if Lysithia was using her telepathy to make her sleep. Before she could ask, her eyes closed and she drifted off. She dreamed of strange worlds with red skies and floating cities, of crystalline beings that sang to each other across the void of space, of a woman with blue skin who reached out to her across an impossible distance. When she woke, Ellie had no idea how long she had been asleep. The ship looked the same. Space outside the viewport was still black and star-filled. Lysithia still sat at the controls unmoving. How long was I out? Ellie asked, stretching. 27 hours, Lysithia replied without opening her eyes. Your body needed rest. Did you make me sleep? Now Lysithia opened her eyes. I encouraged it. Your mind was chaotic with questions and fears. Sleep helped organize your thoughts. Ellie felt a flash of anger. Don't do that again without asking. I don't like having my mind messed with. I apologize, Lysithia said. She seemed genuinely sorry. Among my people, such sharing of mental states is normal. I forget that humans value mental privacy. Ellie's anger faded. It was hard to stay mad at someone who was so obviously different, with different ideas of what was acceptable. It's okay. Just ask next time. Lysithia nodded. I will. She gestured to a small alcove that had appeared in the wall. The ship has created food for you. Inside the alcove was a bowl of something that looked like oatmeal. Ellie took it cautiously. The ship makes food? It synthesizes nutrients in forms acceptable to different species. Lysithia watched as Ellie took a bite. Is it adequate? The food tasted better than it looked. Like oatmeal with honey and something fruity. It's good. Thank you. Ellie ate while looking out the viewport. Where are we now? Passing the orbit of your system's 6th planet. The gas giant you call Saturn. Ellie nearly choked on her food. Saturn, that's impossible. It would take months to reach Saturn with our fastest ships. Your propulsion technology is primitive, Lysithia said, not unkindly. The star shadow doesn't move through space the way your ships do. It steps between locations. Like teleportation? Similar but more controlled. We call it void stepping. Ellie finished her food, trying to wrap her head around the idea. So how long until we reach this void place? The Cygnus Void is not a place exactly. It's a region of space where reality is thinner. Lysithia's hands moved over the controls. We will reach its edge in approximately 40 hours. And what happens then? We go through it. Lysithia looked at Ellie. It will not be pleasant. The laws of physics behave strangely in the void. Time and space become fluid. Sounds fun, Ellie said sarcastically. Lysithia didn't catch the sarcasm. It is not fun, it is dangerous. Many ships that enter the void never emerge, but it is the only way to reach the architect's homeworld. The next 2 days passed slowly. Ellie explored the small ship, finding rooms that appeared and disappeared as needed. A bathing chamber formed when she thought about washing. Food appeared when she was hungry. The ship seemed to read her mind. It's not reading your mind, Lysithia explained when Ellie asked. It's sensing your biological needs and responding to them. Still creepy, Ellie muttered. Lysithia spent most of her time in meditation, connected to the ship. But sometimes she would talk with Ellie, answering questions about her people and their history. The Xel'Naga had once been a proud species of scientists and explorers. They had developed telepathy early in their evolution, which shaped their society. With no secrets possible between individuals, they had no concept of deception or privacy. Their technology grew from their mental abilities, ships controlled by thought, cities that responded to the collective will of their inhabitants. Then the Zraki came, a warrior species immune to telepathy due to their insect-like nervous systems. They saw the Xel'Naga as threats and resources at the same time. They bombed the Xel'Naga cities from orbit, then captured survivors for study. Over generations, they selectively bred the Xel'Naga, altering their biology to create the perfect servants. Beautiful, intelligent, but completely dependent on their Zeraki masters, they were prized possessions among the Zeraki elite. "How many of your people survived?" Ellie asked. "Perhaps 10,000, Lysithea said, "scattered across the Zeraki Empire serving as slaves." Her voice was calm, but Ellie could sense the pain beneath her words. "And if we find this vault?" "How will that help them?" "The Architect's technology could reverse the biological changes the Zeraki made to us, free us from our dependency." Lysithea's silver eyes glowed brighter. "It could also help Earth recover from the war. Restore your poisoned lands, rebuild your cities." It sounded too good to be true. "And the Zeraki want it for weapons?" "Yes, they do not understand what they seek. The Architects did not think as we do. Their technology responds to intention, not mechanical operation." "What does that mean?" "It means that how you use their technology depends on what you want to accomplish." Lysithea stood up from her control platform. "We are approaching the void. You should prepare yourself." The ship's viewport showed normal space ahead. Stars scattered against the blackness, but as Ellie watched, the stars began to shift. They stretched like reflections in rippling water. Colors changed. The blackness between stars turned, textured somehow, as if space itself had depth and substance. "That doesn't look right," Ellie said. "The void affects perception. What you see is your mind trying to make sense of something it cannot truly comprehend." Lysithea returned to her control platform. "We will enter in 1 hour. You should secure yourself." The ship created restraints that wrapped gently around Ellie's body. They were soft but strong like living vines. Lysithea was similarly secured to her platform. "What will it feel like?" Ellie asked, trying to keep the fear from her voice. "Different for each person. For some it is like drowning. For others like falling forever." Lysithea's voice was gentle. "I will try to shield your mind from the worst of it. I thought you weren't going to mess with my head without asking. This is different. Without protection, the void could damage your consciousness permanently." Lysithea reached out and took Ellie's hand. "Do I have your permission?" Ellie nodded. "Yes." Lysithea's hand was warm, her skin smooth. "Close your eyes. Focus on my voice." Ellie closed her eyes. She felt Lysithea's presence in her mind like a warm light. It was different from before. Not controlling, just there, a shield against whatever was coming. "We are entering now," Lysithea said softly. The ship shuddered. Ellie felt a sensation like being turned inside out. Her stomach lurched. Her skin felt too tight, then too loose. Sounds became colors. Thoughts became solid objects that floated around her. Footsteps echoed in the corridor leading to the chamber. Many footsteps moving quickly. Ellie pulled Lysithea behind one of the massive columns that lined the edges of the room. "How many?" Ellie whispered. Lysithea closed her eyes, using her telepathy to sense the approaching minds. 12 humans. 3 Zeraki. Her eyes opened wide with surprise. "The humans are Alliance soldiers. My people? Why would they—" Ellie stopped as understanding dawned. "The Alliance wants the vault too." "Of course they do." The footsteps grew louder. Ellie peered around the column to see a group of armed soldiers entering the chamber. They wore the dark blue uniforms of the Galactic Alliance, with the insignia of Earth's military branch. Behind them came 3 Zeraki warriors, their insect-like bodies encased in chitinous armor. Leading the human soldiers was a woman with short gray hair and the rank markings of an admiral. Ellie recognized her from news broadcasts during the war. "Admiral Kate Delgado," Ellie whispered, "head of Alliance Intelligence." "What's she doing with Zeraki?" "Politics," Lysithea replied softly. "The war is over, but the power struggles continue." Admiral Delgado stepped forward, looking around the vast chamber. "Sergeant Morgan," she called out, her voice echoing. "We know you're in here. Come out now." "That's an order." Ellie tensed. She hadn't been a sergeant for months. She wasn't under anyone's command anymore, but old habits died hard. "Don't," Lysithea warned, sensing Ellie's thoughts. "They will take the vault and kill us both." "I can explain the situation," Ellie said. "Their alliance. My people. They are here with Zeraki," Lysithea reminded her. "The enemy who enslaved my people, who bombed your world. Trust must be earned, not assumed." Ellie hesitated, then nodded. "So what do we do?" "We must reach the pedestal. It is our only hope." Lysithea pointed to the central platform. "Once we activate the vault, we will be protected." "Sergeant Morgan." Delgado called again, more impatient. Don't make us search this entire chamber. You have 10 seconds to show yourself before my soldiers open fire. Ellie looked at the distance between their hiding place and the pedestal, at least 30 meters of open space. They'd be seen immediately. I can create a distraction, Lysithea said. A telepathic illusion. But it will only work for a few moments. We must run for the pedestal as soon as I begin. What kind of illusion? Multiple copies of us appearing around the chamber. It will confuse them long enough for us to reach our goal. Ellie checked her gun. 6 shots left. Not enough to fight their way out, but maybe enough to slow down any pursuers. Do it, she said. Lysithea closed her eyes. The air around them shimmered. Suddenly, dozens of copies of Ellie and Lysithea appeared throughout the chamber, running in different directions. The soldiers shouted in confusion, some firing at the illusions. Now! Lysithea grabbed Ellie's hand and they sprinted toward the pedestal. They were halfway there when Admiral Delgado spotted them. "They're the real ones!" she shouted, pointing. Bullets whizzed past them. Ellie felt one graze her arm, but she kept running. Lysithea stumbled, hit in the leg, but Ellie half-carried her forward. They reached the pedestal just as the illusions faded. "The soldiers were closing in from all sides. Stop right there!" Delgado ordered, her weapon aimed at Ellie's head. "Step away from the alien." Ellie helped Lysithea stand beside the pedestal. The alien was bleeding, a dark purple liquid seeping from the wound in her leg. "Admiral," Ellie said, trying to sound calm, "you don't understand what this is. This isn't a weapon. It's something more." "I understand perfectly well, Sergeant," Delgado replied coldly. "It's Alliance property now. Step away from the alien and the pedestal." The Zraki warriors moved forward, their mandibles clicking in their alien language. One of them spoke through a translator device attached to its thorax. "The Xel'Naga belongs to us," it said in a metallic voice. "She is Zraki property stolen during the war." "She's not property," Ellie said firmly. "She's a person with rights." Delgado smiled without humor. "Noble sentiment, Sergeant, but legally incorrect. The treaty is quite clear on non-human captives. Why are you working with them?" Ellie demanded. "They were our enemies. They destroyed half of Earth, and now they're our allies in maintaining galactic stability," Delgado said smoothly. "The war is over. New alliances form. The Zraki Empire and the Galactic Alliance have come to an arrangement regarding certain assets, including this vault and the Xel'Naga." One of the Zraki stepped forward. Its translator spoke. "We know what the female Xel'Naga carries in her mind. The coordinates were ours. She stole them." "I didn't steal anything," Lysithea said, her voice strong despite her injury. "The knowledge was always mine. Your master took me, not the other way around." Delgado looked impatient. "Enough talk. Sergeant Morgan, this is your last chance. Step away from the alien and the pedestal. That's an order." Ellie felt Lysithea's hand on her arm. "Don't," the alien whispered. "If we surrender, all is lost. My people remain slaves. Your world remains broken." "We're surrounded," Ellie whispered back. "We have no choice. There is always choice." Lysithea's silver eyes held Ellie's gaze. "The pedestal requires both of us. We must place our hands on it simultaneously." Ellie glanced at the pedestal. The 2 handprints glowed softly. One shaped for a human hand, one for a Xel'Naga's 6 fingers. "Sergeant," Delgado shouted. 5 seconds. "Trust me," Lysithea said softly. Ellie made her decision. In one swift movement, she raised her gun and fired at the nearest soldier. The distraction worked. The room erupted in chaos. Ellie turned and slammed her hand onto the human-shaped print on the pedestal. Lysithea placed her 6-fingered hand on the other print. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Light erupted from the pedestal, engulfing Ellie and Lysithea. Ellie felt Lysithea's mind merge with hers. All her memories, hopes, and fears laid bare. She saw Lysithea's childhood on a world with red skies, felt her pain as her people were enslaved, experienced her years of captivity and secret resistance. And Lysithea saw Ellie's mind too. Her childhood in Chicago, her enlistment after the Zraki first attacked Earth, the horror of the war and the comrades she had lost, the emptiness she had felt afterward until a strange alien woman entered her life. Around them, the chamber transformed. The walls became transparent, showing the stars beyond. The floor rippled like water. The soldiers and Zraki warriors were pushed back by an invisible force, unable to approach the pedestal. In the center of the light, Ellie and Lysithea remained connected, both physically through their hands on the pedestal and mentally through the vault's power. "What's happening?" Ellie asked, her voice sounding strange to her own ears. "The vault is responding to our minds," Lysithea replied. "It reads our intentions and will shape its power accordingly." "And what is our intention?" Lysithea smiled, and Ellie felt rather than saw it. "Freedom, healing, balance." The light grew brighter, spreading outward from the pedestal. It flowed up the walls of the pyramid and burst from its peak, shooting into space like a beacon. Outside the pyramid, all across the planet, the other geometric structures began to activate. Spheres rose higher into the air. Spirals began to rotate. Tetrahedrons glowed with inner light. Inside the chamber, Admiral Delgado watched in awe and fear. "What have you done?" she demanded. "Something you never would have," Ellie replied, her voice echoing strangely. "We've chosen to heal rather than control." The Zraki warriors chittered frantically, backing away from the expanding light. They seemed to recognize what was happening, and it terrified them. Lysithea spoke, her voice overlapping with Ellie's. "The architects created this technology to evolve, not to destroy. It responds to intention, not to force." The light from the pyramid spread across the planet, then shot outward along invisible pathways to other star systems. Everywhere it touched, changes began. On distant worlds where Xel'Naga served as slaves, the neural inhibitor collars deactivated. The genetic modifications forcing their dependence on masters began to reverse. On Earth, the radiation-poisoned lands began to heal. Soil became fertile again. Water purified itself of toxins. The process would take time, but it had begun. And in ships and stations throughout Alliance and Zraki space, weapons of mass destruction simply stopped working. Nuclear warheads became inert. Planet-killer bombs dissolved into harmless components. In the chamber, Ellie and Lysithea remained connected to the pedestal and to each other. The light around them pulsed with their combined heartbeats. "You can't do this," Admiral Delgado said, though her voice had lost its authority. "You can't make decisions for the entire galaxy." "We aren't," Ellie replied. "We're just restoring balance. Everyone will still make their own choices, but some choices will no longer be possible. The choice to enslave," Lysithea added. "The choice to destroy worlds," Ellie continued. "The choice to remake others in your image," they finished together. The light began to fade, but the connection between Ellie and Lysithea remained. They had been changed by the experience. Ellie could still feel Lysithea's thoughts, though less intensely than before, and she noticed that Lysithea's silver eyes now had flecks of brown in them, the same color as Ellie's eyes. "What have you become?" one of the Zraki asked through its translator, its voice filled with dread. "Something new," Lysithea answered. "Something better." The Zraki homeworld loomed ahead, a massive planet with 3 moons and rings of purple dust. From space it looked beautiful, swirling clouds over continents of red and orange. But Ellie knew the beauty hid a dark history. This was the heart of the empire that had nearly destroyed Earth, the civilization that had enslaved Lysithea's people. "Are you ready?" Ellie asked, looking at Lysithea. The alien woman stood at the ship's controls, her violet-blue skin glowing softly in the light from the displays. She had changed since their encounter with the vault 3 days ago. The flecks of brown in her silver eyes had grown larger. Her movements seemed more human, less eerily perfect, and sometimes Ellie would catch her smiling for no reason, an expression Lysithea had rarely shown before. "Yes," Lysithea replied. "But we must be careful. The network is still stabilizing. Its effects are not complete." Through their mental link, Ellie sensed Lysithea's mix of emotions: hope, fear, determination, and beneath it all, a deep longing to see her people free. "How many Xel'Naga are on this world?" Ellie asked. "Records showed nearly 5,000, Lysithea said, most in the Imperial Palace and the homes of the High Nobles." The ship descended toward the planet, invisible to Zraki sensors thanks to its enhanced cloaking. They passed through layers of security satellites without triggering any alarms. The Star Shadows systems were far beyond anything the Zraki had developed. As they entered the atmosphere, Ellie got her first look at the Zraki capital city. It was enormous, sprawling across an entire continent. Buildings rose like spikes from the red earth connected by elevated roadways. Everything was built to intimidate: sharp angles, towering heights, aggressive design. "The palace is there," Lysithea said, pointing to a massive structure at the city's center. It resembled a gigantic insect with wing-like extensions spreading outward from a central dome. The ship landed on one of those extensions, still cloaked. From here they could see hundreds of Zraki moving about on the levels below. The insect-like aliens were larger than Ellie had expected. Most stood over 7 feet tall, with chitinous exoskeletons in various shades of green and brown. They moved on 4 lower limbs while their upper 2 limbs were used for manipulation and carrying weapons. "What's the plan?" Ellie asked, suddenly aware of how outnumbered they would be. Lysithea held up the small pyramid they had taken from the vault. It glowed with inner light, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. "This will amplify the network's effect," she explained. "We need to reach the central slave quarters. From there I can broadcast a signal that will break the final biological locks in my people. How do we get there without being seen? The ship can't go inside. We won't need to be unseen." Lysithea smiled. "Watch." She placed her hand on the ship's control panel. The pyramid pulsed brighter. Suddenly Ellie felt a change through their mental link, a shift in the energy around them. "What did you do?" she asked. "I've extended the ship's protection to us. We are now difficult to perceive correctly." Lysithea led Ellie to the exit. "They will see us, but they won't recognize what we are. Their minds will fill in something familiar and unthreatening." They stepped out onto the palace roof. The air was hot and dry, with a strange spicy scent that made Ellie's nose tingle. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth's, making her feel heavier. A door led from the roof into the palace. They entered cautiously, finding themselves in a wide corridor with high ceilings. The walls were decorated with scenes of battle, Zraki warriors conquering various worlds. Ellie recognized Earth among them and felt a flash of anger. They encountered their first Zraki guard at an intersection of corridors. The insectoid alien looked at them, its compound eyes reflecting their images, but instead of sounding an alarm, it simply clicked its mandibles and continued its patrol. "It saw us as fellow guards," Lysithea explained softly as they passed. "The network is affecting its perception." They moved deeper into the palace, following Lysithea's mental map. They passed more Zraki, none of whom gave them a second glance. Occasionally they saw other aliens, servants and slaves from conquered worlds performing various tasks. These gave them curious looks but didn't interfere. Finally, they reached a heavily guarded door. Behind it, according to Lysithea, were the central slave quarters where most of the Xel'Naga were kept. "This will be more difficult," Lysithea whispered. "The guards here are specifically trained to watch for escaped slaves. Their minds will be more resistant to our influence." Ellie touched the gun at her hip, a more powerful weapon she had found on the Star Shadow after its transformation. "If necessary, this can stun them without causing permanent harm." Lysithea nodded, though Ellie could feel her reluctance to use violence. They approached the guards, 4 large Zraki with more elaborate armor than the others they had seen. As expected, these guards were not so easily fooled. One stepped forward, blocking their path. It spoke in the clicking, chittering language of the Zraki. Lysithea responded in the same language, the sound strange coming from her humanoid mouth. Ellie felt her using her telepathy, pushing against the guard's mental defenses. For a moment it seemed to be working. The guard stepped back, mandibles twitching in confusion. Then another guard clicked a rapid series of sounds and raised its weapon. Ellie moved quickly, drawing her gun and firing 3 shots in rapid succession. Rings of blue energy struck 3 of the guards, who collapsed to the floor, paralyzed but conscious. The 4th guard managed to sound an alarm before Lysithea's telepathic blast knocked it unconscious. "We need to hurry," Lysithea said, placing her hand on the door control. "The alarm will bring more guards." The door slid open, revealing a large circular chamber. Inside were hundreds of Xel'Naga, their violet-blue skin dull under harsh lighting. All wore neural inhibitor collars like the one Ellie had removed from Lysithea. They stood or sat in small groups, their silver eyes downcast, their movements slow and careful. As Ellie and Lysithea entered, the Xel'Naga looked up in surprise. Murmurs spread through the chamber. One stepped forward, an older male with faded blue skin and eyes that had seen too much suffering. "Lysithea," he said in disbelief. "Is it truly you?" "Elder Toran," Lysithea replied, bowing her head in respect. "Yes, it is me. I have returned as I promised." The elder looked at Ellie with curiosity. "You bring a human with you, and your eyes, they have changed." Much has changed, Lysithea said, and more will change today. She held up the small pyramid, which glowed brighter in the presence of so many Xel'Naga. We have found the architect's vault. We have activated their network. A gasp went through the assembled aliens. Many stood, moving closer to see. The vault is not a myth? Elder Torin asked, his voice trembling with emotion. No. It is real. Lysithea placed the pyramid on the floor in the center of the chamber, and it has given us the means to free our people. She knelt beside the pyramid and placed her hands on it. The glow intensified, spreading outward across the floor in intricate patterns. Ellie felt the energy building through their mental link, like pressure rising in a sealed container. What is happening? One of the younger Xel'Naga asked. Freedom, Ellie said simply. The neural inhibitor collars began to beep, their lights flashing rapidly. One by one they